Alrighty, guys. The next trade we're going to be talking about here, Dynasty, this or that. We're going to go with okay. So this is we got a trade that's accepted. So one team receives T. Higgins and a 2023 third, and one team receives James Robinson and Jameson Williams. Okay. So I will talk it over before we get into it. But basically one team receives, which I know Bailey will agree with me, it's like a what do you define T. Higgins as? Like a low end wide receiver one in fantasy? Not like obviously he has Jamar Chase on his team. But I'm talking like
Yeah.
fantasy wide receiver. Like if we're going on a 12-man
Yeah, just
league,
fantasy wise, I would say like low end wide receiver one.
like do you think that if we're just basing off a standard like 12-man, do you think that there's 11 or 12 guys better than T. Higgins in fantasy, like off the draft board?
I don't think so.
So yeah, so like a lower wide receiver one, a 2023 third, which is not useless, but like it's kind of just like eh.
Yeah.
James Robinson, who's also kind of he just signed with New England, but
Oh, we
they
did. I
have
didn't know.
Ramondre Stevenson as the guy. Obviously, he's that dude. We don't know
Mhm.
James Robinson's involvement yet, but I don't think because basically in this trade you're looking at T. Higgins for Jameson Williams, essentially, because James Robinson's and the 2023 third kind of cancel each other out, in my opinion. Do you think that James Robinson has any value, Bailey?
Yeah, I think James Robinson has some value. I would say he has a little bit more than the third, but
Yeah, I'd
still
agree with
not
that.
that much value.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I would agree with that. It's more than the third, but it's not like crazy. And then
Yeah, it's nothing to like move the scale.
so you're basically looking at Jameson Williams for T. Higgins. And I know that I just made a trade for James Williams in my main Dynasty League, but I know that I would rather have T. Higgins over Jameson Williams for sure. Do you
Yeah.
agree with that, Bailey?
Yeah, I agree with you too. Just you know what you're getting with T. Higgins. Like I think the ceiling for Jameson Williams is like a T. Higgins. Like I think Amon-Ra is gonna stay the wide receiver one for the future in Detroit. So I think you're still looking at like for the ceiling of Jameson Williams is T. Higgins as like, yeah, T. Higgins is the wide receiver two on his team, but he still puts up good numbers for fantasy wise, you know?
Yeah, I think that I agree with Bailey. I think that Jameson Williams' ceiling is like a low end wide receiver one in fantasy. And if you already have that in T. Higgins, why
Who's
would you
also
just
still young too. Like,
yeah, he does. He's in a contract year, so I guess you can say that. But I mean, I think Joe Mixon's out, and since so they'll have some money to pay T. Higgins. But
yeah.
I think I'd rather, if we're taking a vote, I'd rather have the T. Higgins side.
And that could be a plus for T. Higgins because he could go sign somewhere else and be the
Yes.
wide receiver one there.
Yeah, or he could plummet, but we
Or
hope for the
he
best
could
here.
plummet, but
So yeah, do you vote T. Higgins side?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Third round picks aren't the likelihood of having some value is low, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, you
And
could, you know, you could do a good job scouting and find a good third
yeah, you
round
could
gem.
snipe.